Fresh out the oven, it's Cinema Bums. I'm Wade.
And I'm Emmett.
Cinema Bums is a podcast where we watch through every single movie in popular film franchises, one each week, to try and track how the storytelling changes over time. Today we are continuing our miniseries X23 about Fox's X-Men films. We will fully spoil today's film, but we will not spoil any future entries in the series. We have not seen, neither of us have seen any future entries in the series after this.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this one until today.
Yeah, so this is your first new movie, and this is my last old movie.
Yeah.
Emmett, how are you doing?
I'm doing just great. And I would like to take this moment to formally announce Cinema Bums will never die until we have watched every movie ever made.
The podcast or us as individuals?
Probably it's going to have to be the podcast because we, in fact, would be dead before that would be possible. But forever. Okay, so you want to introduce our
Yes,
our guest?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. Particularly because today we are honored to have a special guest. She's a musician, actress, and makeup artist, perhaps best known to our audience for her screenwriting credits on Barbie in the Nutcracker, Barbie as Rapunzel, Barbie of Swan Lake, Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper, Barbie Fairytopia, Barbie and the Magic of Pegasus, Barbie Fairytopia Mermaidia, The Barbie Diaries, Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses, Barbie Fairytopia Magic of the Rainbow, Barbie as the Island Princess, Barbie Mariposa, Barbie and the Diamond Castle, and Barbie in A Christmas Carol. Please welcome Laura Bennett.
Hello. I love the Barbie movies, and I think you guys should do that as a series.
There's like 30 of them.
There's a lot of them. I had a Barbie Swan Lake birthday party when I was younger. Wow. It was great. I gave everybody crowns.
Did you watch the movie at the party?
No.
Did you act out the...
It was an ice skating birthday party, but it also had a Barbie Swan Lake theme,
Wow.
unrelated to the ice skating.
Those are, I think, just the ones that came out in the 90s. I think I stopped at the thousands.
Damn. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a whole YouTube channel where you can watch all of them.
They have them all online?
Yeah, I'll plug them at the end of the episode, so if you want to know what that is, you have to listen to the whole episode.
Where people can find you online is on the Barbie movies for free, watch free online.
No, that's not where they can find me.
YouTube
That's just
channel.
where they can find happiness, general happiness.
Laura, what is your previous experience?
I've seen a few of them, but I've seen clips of most of them just on the FX channel growing up when there was nothing else on. They would always be on TV. There would always be one of them on TV, and I have no idea which ones were which. And then I have seen a few in the last few weeks because I love to support my roommates in their endeavors. So I have sat down and watched a few with you guys. And this one. I also watched this one.
That's good. You did watch this one. But how has your experience been with the previous ones that you've caught with us? What have you been thinking about those?
I was grateful to have seen Logan. I thought I had seen Logan. Then I realized I hadn't because I didn't know Wolverine died. And I was like, wait, I have not seen this movie. And I'm actually grateful to have seen Logan because I think there are some parallels in this movie. What's the other one I watched? This
movie starts with a figurine.
Well, Deadpool, the first Deadpool.
I watched the first Deadpool. Not a fan. And I watched that one.
First Class.
First Class.
That everyone loved.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I love the bromance.
Okay, today we are talking about Deadpool 2. This movie is directed by David Leitch, director whose work I really enjoy. Did not direct the first one. So this guy was a stuntman. He was one of Keanu Reeves' stuntmen on The Matrix. Him and Chad Straczynski, who went on to direct. It was both of they were stuntmen for a really long time. He also won some awards for The Bourne Ultimatum. But they directed John Wick together, which was both of their directorial debuts. And then they split up. So Chad Straczynski directed John Wick 2 and 3. And David Leitch directed a film I adore, Atomic Blonde.
Yes.
In 2017. Then this movie. And then Hobbs and Shaw in 2019, another film I love.
Haven't seen that one.
It's one of the Fast and Furious. I thought that there were points of this movie that felt very Fast and Furious to me.
Mm-hmm.
Much more than like X-Men, I felt. They were particularly like the ending battle.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's superpower in this is that they can punch hard and fight good.
Yeah. His next movie is an original new action movie called Bullet Train that's set entirely on a Japanese bullet train, presumably a remake of the Wolverine. Can I read you guys the cast for this?
Yes, please.
And let me reiterate that it's an original action movie, something that doesn't happen very often. Brad Pitt, Joey King from Netflix's The Kissing Booth, Andrew Koji, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, Zazie Beetz, also in this movie, Michael Shannon, Logan Lerman, Bad Bunny, and Lady Gaga.
Queen.
What the?
All on a bullet train trying to kill each other.
That sounds. I was on board. Then you said Lady Gaga, and I'll watch it many times now.
I'm so
That's
excited.
crazy. That's what he made after this movie.
That's what he's making right now.
Oh, what he's making right now.
So it's what he made after Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh.
He made Hobbs and Shaw after this, which features a couple people from this.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that Atomic Blonde has the Nicholas Hoult and the... No, not the Nicholas Hoult. The Bill Skarsgård and the James McAvoy connection.
Oh, you're right.
James McAvoy to the previous X-Men and Bill Skarsgård, who was briefly in this as Vomit Boy.
It also has the Eddie Marsan guy.
Uh-huh. Who also goes on to be
The
in
head
Hobbs
teacher.
and Shaw.
Oh, yeah. He is in Hobbs and Shaw.
Rob Delaney, who's Peter, the regular guy in this, is also in Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh,
Also, of course, Ryan Reynolds is in Hobbs and Shaw.
is he really?
If you remember,
Who
he's
does
one.
he play
There's
in
like
this movie? Who does he play in this movie?
he plays himself in this movie.
That's true.
It was written by Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick, and Ryan Reynolds. The same two guys as the original, plus Ryan Reynolds, who got a writing credit on this. Music by Tyler Bates, who also did the music for John Wick. Junkie XL, who did the music for Deadpool, wouldn't come back when the first director didn't. This film runs 2 hours, has a budget of $110 million, which means that it needed to make $220 million to break even. Made $785 million.
That's crazy.
So the things to note here, this budget was almost double that of the first, which you can see in some ways and not others. Like, the scale is much bigger, but the CGI is much worse.
Yeah.
This is the highest grossing film in the entire X-Men series. This is the most seen movie in the entire X-Men series. Like the first one, it was the highest grossing R-rated movie at the time of its release. It is now the second highest, following Joker.
Damn.
It got a 66 on Metacritic compared to the original 65. It was generally positive reviews in comparison to the first, although there were several concerns about tone. Just have a couple...
What possible concerns about tone could you have in that movie?
Couple things to highlight here. A.O. Scott of the New York Times wrote, Deadpool 2 dabbles in ugliness and transgression, but takes no real creative risks.
Ayo, Scott.
David Edelstein of Vulture, whose writing I always enjoy reading, even if I don't always agree with it, wrote, a superhero movie with the looseness of a Mad Magazine parody remains a viable idea, as demonstrated by the underrated Mystery Men and, of course, Deadpool. But a film that spits one-liners as mechanically as a tennis ball launcher is even more tediously predictable than one with no sense of humor at all.
Wow.
It was released May 18th, 2018, 3 weeks after Infinity War, also starring Josh Brolin, and 1 week before Solo, A Star Wars Story. This movie is generally regarded as the reason that Solo, A Star Wars Story had a poor box office performance.
Wow.
2018? Emmett? What other movies came out in 2018?
Well, it's funny you say this about Solo because it's crazy to me that a Star Wars film lost out to the other Marvel franchise that's not the MCU. It's crazy that they lost out to them, and because they're not on this top 10 list. So let me tell you. Avengers: Infinity War, number 1, obviously.
Yep.
Black Panther, number 2. Jurassic World 2: Fallen Kingdom, number 3.
Wow. That's surprising to me.
This is we're always talking all international here, so
Yeah.
that like you figure that in.
I really enjoy that movie, but I feel like I've never talked to anyone who has also seen it.
I have seen it, and still I have not seen it. The number 4 spot goes to Incredibles 2.
Oh,
Wow.
that was good.
Number 5 spot goes to Aquaman.
Wow.
Number 6, our boy, the baddie with a lot of baggage,
I'm worried.
Mr. BS himself, old Brian's Last Stand.
Oh, no.
Bohemian Rhapsody comes in at number
God.
6.
Yikes.
Wow. I maybe would rather watch this movie than Bohemian Rhapsody again. That's
People are
something.
gonna come for you for that one.
I have never seen Bohemian Rhapsody.
It's a trip. The best part of it was Rami Malek's performance. He was
Okay.
incredible.
Oh.
Everything else, not incredible.
A lot of people in the Academy
Yeah.
agree
I
with
am
you
the
about
Academy.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's such a pleasure to meet you. I'm starstruck now. Sorry, allow me to continue.
okay.
Number 7, Venom.
Wow, Emmett, really, really to the Academy's face. You've been talking so much smack all these weeks. You've been saying cancel the Academy, and
No,
now
here.
you've come face to face, and you're speechless.
Star stricken. Number 7, Venom. A little Tom Brady hit. Tom
Brady. I was like, what?
Sorry.
Tom Hardy.
A little Tom Hardy vehicle called Venom. I hope Wade edits that out. Mission Impossible. I don't even know what number. Fallout.
Ooh, so good.
Yeah, it's good.
I
What-
think the best action movie since Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh,
Wow.
but what number is it? Can you enlighten us?
6?
6?
Or 7.
Wow.
I think 6.
They should just put the number in the title. It'd
We
be
saw
really
that one
helpful.
together.
Would be helpful.
I don't.
That's the Henry Cavill one.
I do remember. I do remember now. That did bring back a memory.
The number 9, taking up that old X-Men slot, is Deadpool 2.
Number 9,
Consistently-
baby.
wild.
Consistently, when this series places in the top 10, it places at number 9.
Wow, that's interesting.
Number 9.
Number 9. And in the number 10 spot, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Part 2, The Crimes of Johnny Depp.
Wow.
There are many.
Some things age better than others.
The best film that year, well, not the best film. The movie that the Academy Awards that you
That
Miss
I,
Award.
the Academy.
picked that year. I think you'll have to answer for this now.
Uh-oh.
It's time to
I
have
don't-
some
I don't
healing
remember.
over this choice that you made. Green Book for Best
Oh
Picture.
no! I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean that.
but-
They didn't deserve that.
On the other hand, Alfonso Cuarón for Roma wins Best Director. Your boy Rami Malek wins for
I
Bohemian
do
Rhapsody.
remember. Yep.
Ugh.
And Best Actress, Olivia Colman in The Favorite.
Wow.
A movie that we watched sometime in the last 12 months, it feels like.
Have either of you seen the clip from this year's Oscars where they announce that it's Green Book and Spike Lee stands up and walks out of the
Good.
auditorium?
Have you guys seen that?
No, I haven't.
I watched
haven't.
that on a plane ride. It was not great.
Laura, Deadpool 2, flop or bomb?
Oh boy. I hope I don't regret this. I do a little already before it's even out of my mouth, but I'm going to say it's a bop. It's just barely a bop, but it is a bop.
All right. And then Deadpool 2, flop or bomb?
It's a bop.
Said with confidence, and I can respect that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like, it's watchable. Once again, a watchable movie in this franchise comes across as a pure miracle. So, Wade, flop or bop?
Flop. I think this movie is completely worthless. And I say that not from a place of animosity. I'm not here to trash the movie.
Sure.
I don't feel the personal sting of hatred that I felt with X-Men: The Last Stand, which is this movie's equal in the franchise. I think.
Wow.
This is just a movie that like what on earth? What value could I possibly have found in it? Like, this was a movie made to make money and for no other purpose.
It's it is like, to that point, let me just say, it is an entertaining, it's like social document of just what corporations thought people thought was funny in 2018.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And in that way, it is like fascinating. It's like, it's a cultural text that will have to be unpacked for decades.
Yeah, this is like Fortnite the movie.
To be honest, though, like some of the references I love.
Yeah.
Like they nailed it. And some I'm like, no, I don't like that. But like they mention Babs, you know, Barbra Streisand. They mention my favorite movie, Cool Runnings. They're playing some 9 to 5 up in there. Like, there's some great things in there that I like.
He makes a joke about George Bush saying mission accomplished in the first month of the Iraq War, which I'm always here for.
Do you like this movie or the first one better?
I prefer this one. Did not like the first one at all. At all. And I really didn't think I was going to like this one. I've seen it once before in theaters. I absolutely hated it. Completely blocked it from my memory. I don't know what changed. But it seems that my sense of humor has devolved. I wrote that in my notes. So
It's weird because like I enjoyed watching this one more because it's like more palatable. Which it's probably a worse movie. Like it's probably like not as much of like a pure director's vision of like what they wanted it to be as the first one is, but it's like also just like kind of like a Hellboy replay on fast forward, and I really like Hellboy, so I'm like, okay, cool. And I don't know, it's got some good action, got some good moments. I'd say better.
It's tough for me. It really is tough because I think that this one is objectively more watchable. Like the pacing is so much better.
Yeah.
The action is a lot cooler and easier to watch. Like it is still horrible to behold, but I feel like they've sanded over some of like the highlighting the rough edges.
Yeah.
The thing that I like about the first one, which I really just like a lot more on paper than actually watching it, but I do genuinely like the love story between them in the first one. And I like how small that movie is and how grounded it really is in that. I think this one is a lot easier to watch, but I think I would probably rather watch the first one. Just because that it does have something that I like connect to and root for in it.
Yeah.
you don't root for Russell being adopted by Deadpool in this movie because that's what I wanted to happen. I mean, it kind of happens.
It does kind of feel like they're missing like that last, like you get the last moment between him and Cable.
You want him to adopt him. That's what you want.
You just mentioned Julian Dennison, who's playing Russell in this movie. Anyone who hasn't seen Taika Waititi's Hunt for the Wilder People should go out and watch it right now. He's unbelievably good in it, and it's just a classic.
Yeah, it's an incredible movie.
A classic family comedy adventure movie that I truly think anyone alive would enjoy.
He's so good in this.
Yeah, he kills it.
So good.
It actually reminded me, just like in the smallest way, Hunt for the Wilder People. And I don't know if that's because it was him, but there's kind of a dynamic of him on this adventure with this guy who's much older than him, and he's trying to build that relationship, which is kind of what Hunt for the Wilder People is about, which is maybe why they wanted him for this movie.
Oh, another movie I would recommend if you watch this is Looper, Rian Johnson's Looper.
Yeah, it felt to me a lot like Looper in the middle there, when he's like, I'm coming back in time to kill him when he's a kid, and even has like the similar power.
Yeah, and it's also because they like killed his wife and daughter. The whole Cable plotline is like cribbed from Looper, but that's another like dreamy, exciting movie I would recommend watching.
Yeah. Can I talk about Cable for a second?
Please.
Okay, so you asked me...
Played by
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin.
Is he Thanos?
He is.
He is.
They make that joke. Didn't get it, but now I get it. Good year for him.
Yeah, it
good
is a
villain
good
year
month
for him. Good month for him. He's made so much money.
Man, and there's only slightly less CGI used on him in this movie, but it looks a lot worse.
It looks horrible.
Yeah, that's true.
So here's the deal about Cable from the comics. He was created in 1990 by Louise Simonson and Rob Liefeld.
Rob Liefeld, also the creator of Deadpool.
Oh. His real name is Nathan Christopher Charles Summers. He is a future baby of Scott Summers and a woman named Madeline Pryor. You might be asking yourself, who's this Madeline Pryor hussy stealing in on old Jean Grey's man? Oh, it's none other than Jean Grey's clone. So that makes it okay.
Oh, no.
So when he was born, circa like right now, he was infected with a deadly techno-organic virus, which just happens sometimes. And so then his parents were like, we better save this baby. So they transported him into a future timeline where he could be healed. But then he grew up there. For some reason, he didn't come back like right after being healed. So he grew up there and became a warrior against Apocalypse. Eventually, he gives up on that game and he comes back to slightly before when he was born and like teams up with the X-Men, the New Mutants, and eventually forms X-Force, which we kind of see happen in this movie in an ironic way. But he really, like in the comics, he really does found X-Force with another mutant. And they go on to have lots of adventures. He's like essential to a bunch of like the timeline jumping that happens across a lot of this stuff, and not just for the X-Men and like X-Men related titles, but also like he's kind of a hinge point for how like the X-Men end up fighting the Avengers in one of the big like crossover event comics there. Like he's important in all of that stuff and has like multiple reality versions of him. You know, he's always doing like crazy stuff and is essentially one of the most powerful characters. He has like telekinetic powers that his mom had. Basically an OP badass, and turns into a best friend of Deadpool for a while in the comics. Yeah, and
That's
they had a
sweet.
whole comic title together for a long time.
Aw.
How do we feel about Cable in this movie?
I think his suit does not fit him well. I wrote that in my notes. First shot of it, just a little baggy, fitting him in weird places. Also, he looks like a video game character, and it's not very convincing.
Yeah, that one shot of him with the homeless people is the only shot where it doesn't look like everything other than his face is CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah,
It's
it
bad.
does look weird all the
Looks
time.
very bad.
And like him having the glowing eye, he really does look like halfway through the like Terminator when he's like half his face is blown off and like half his body is all torn up. You know what I'm talking about? One more thing about Cable, sorry, before we close on him, I have this note written down that I thought was important. There is a part in one of the comics where Cable beats up in one day. He defeats Captain America, Falcon, Red Hulk, and Iron Man.
Someone's got to do it.
That's a good day.
Yeah, that's all.
Wow, he's my hero for that.
Yeah, I mean,
I have nothing
it's just-
against those guys, but like if you're doing that all in one day,
That's more than I do in a week, quite frankly. Laura, you said you saw some comparisons between this and like,
I did.
this movie starts with a little toy
Yeah.
of the end of Logan.
It's incredible. I figured out this parallel when in the final scene, obviously, when Russell is next to Deadpool as he's dying, and I was like, oh my gosh, light bulb. That's a Despicable Me reference. I should have said it in a German accent to be clear.
Okay, you get one chance.
Light the bulb.
There we go.
I was like, oh, this is just like the end of Logan. I think that Russell and Laura would be really good friends. I think that'd be really sweet. Spin-off series.
hell yeah.
Wouldn't it be so sweet?
I would love to see it.
Yeah, it'd be good. But they have very similar, like, no family.
Mm-hmm.
And then they find this kind of like bitter, angry person who has similar powers, and they like relate. And then they watch them die. But luckily for Russell, he comes back, so.
I also think it's interesting you bring that up because they have no compunction in Logan about Laura killing people. And this whole movie is like, if this kid kills one person, he's down the dark
He's
path
screwed.
forever. And Laura beheads 5 men in the first 2 minutes.
She was just too far gone at the beginning already. They were just like, well, guess we'll have to work with this.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of Days of Future Past with like all the effort to stop someone from making their first kill.
Oh, yeah.
So like go back in time and stop her from doing the thing that sends him down the dark path.
That's interesting. That long dramatic death was like truly so painful.
Have you guys seen Shrek 2?
I have.
Do you guys remember the scene where Fiona's frog dad is dying? Well, he does a very similar thing that Ryan Reynolds does in this movie.
Really?
It's like, I'm dead. I'm alive, but I'm dead. And he comes back multiple times. And it's honestly a bit funnier in Shrek 2 than when Ryan Reynolds does it. I didn't really laugh, but I definitely laughed in Shrek 2 when it happened. I just think you guys should watch that scene because it's a really good one. And I think he does it better. I think the animated frog dad does it better. But it's a great masterpiece.
How did we feel about Ryan Reynolds in this? Same as the first one? Any differences? How do we feel about the performance?
I feel like his performance was pretty similar. I feel like what I noticed is that this movie definitely takes away a lot of his hot creds. Like, he's hot, but not in this movie. Obviously, like, his face is messed up, but like his humor and like this whole character just makes Ryan Reynolds not hot. Going on the not hot list there, Ryan Reynolds. And you know, it's really hard to put yourself on that list after you were in The Proposal with Sandra Bullock. You guys seen that movie?
No.
It's really good. And he's hot in it, but he's not hot anymore. And that's because of Deadpool.
Wow. Blacklisted by the Academy there.
Wow, incredible.
He will not be getting the Academy Award for hottest.
I feel like this character is who he is, or at least who he has become. Because now he like only plays Deadpool and other things. Like in Detective Pikachu, which is a more interesting movie than I think people talk about, or in the upcoming Free Guy. Like those are him like playing the Deadpool type character. He does all these ads for like whiskey where he's playing like the Deadpool type wisecracking. He did that thing where he like launched the streaming service where it was like only one of his old rom-coms.
Wow, he's just a wisecracking old merc with a mouth.
Can I get into the behind the scenes
Oh,
drama?
please, yes.
Please.
The tea I have in this movie
I can't wait.
is unbelievable.
I'm thirsty.
Let's start at the beginning.
Please cut that out.
Ooh,
Put in this
spill it,
instead.
girl.
I'm
Spill
parched for some tea.
Your faith in my editing ability is incredible. A sequel involving Cable was greenlit by the release of the first film, as we heard in the post-credit scene of the first film. Ryan Reynolds was given creative control of this film and creative control of casting, and he clashed with the director of the original film, Tim Miller, who was originally supposed to return along with the whole rest of the team, the writers and Ryan Reynolds. Tim Miller reportedly wanted more stylized action in the sequel, while Ryan Reynolds wanted more comedy. Tim Miller also wanted to cast Kyle Chandler of Game Night and Friday Night Lights as Cable.
This guy. That'd be interesting. That'd be really weird.
Oh. Yeah. What a Chet Manley.
So Fox sided with Reynolds and Tim left. He denied some of the reports about the clash. All Ryan Reynolds ever said was that he was sad to see him go and that nobody worked harder on the first movie than him. The things that we have heard about Tim Miller's take, there was no Vanessa death. She was going to live and she was going to become the superhero she becomes in the comics, which is Copycat.
What?
The movie was going to be about them as a superhero couple.
Oh, dang. That sounds good.
And it was going to end with a fight between Juggernaut and the Thing from the Fantastic Four, which was all part of this thing that we've been talking about that they were trying to build to, this event movie that was going to be Deadpool and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four all teaming up in a big Avengers-style movie that was going to be started here with this one.
Wow.
He left and he went on to direct the TV show Love and Robots and the last Terminator movie, Dark Fate.
I've seen a few of those Love and Robots episodes.
What'd you think?
They're pretty good. Very interesting. They're all like separate from one another.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like cute, also sometimes sad little robot stories.
So Ryan Reynolds then had pick over the director. He picked Leach because of his experience making a low-budget film look good in John Wick. The writing team for this movie, which was the original two writers plus Ryan Reynolds, split the movie into thirds, and then they each wrote scenes, and then they rewrote them as a group.
I think that's like a little bit clear. Like, you can kind of see 3 separate things happening. So there's at the third part with, like, the team that he gathers.
Yeah.
There's, like, the beginning. I feel like the beginning up to the prison scene, then the prison scene and all that is, like, 3 separate strands of movie going on almost. Like, they do connect, obviously. But that seems like where there are maybe 3 separate ideas of this kind of movie.
Yeah, it's really clear 3 acts in this.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're almost evenly split. Like, they're almost down to the minute, 45 minutes each. And I did like a lot of the first act. And for me, it was like when Cable gets to the prison was the point where I was not on board with the movie anymore. But, like, especially, I think even, like, the first 15 minutes I was, like, really into. Especially after watching the last one. The writers wanted to focus more on X-Force, but Ryan Reynolds wanted to focus on the kid aspect, and he wanted to try and make it a family movie, like how the first one was a love story. Leach wanted to focus on Cable's history. He shot a scene showing that he was Cyclops' son, which the writers cut because they thought that it was too convoluted. It sounds like from your report it is fairly convoluted. I had forgotten this. The Disney-Fox merger began in December 2017.
Damn.
It took them 3 years to finish that thing, which I guess makes sense for, like, the biggest corporations on Earth to become one corporation.
Yeah.
But it started in December 2017, which is why the writers included so many jokes about the MCU and about Marvel Studios properties in this. They had to cut a joke that was directly addressing the merger because they thought that it might affect the outcome of it. There was also a clash on the first film between Tim Miller and the writers. Tim Miller thought that all the jokes should be universal, that people shouldn't be left out of any of the jokes, and so would push up against them for writing anything that he thought was too obscure of a reference. There actually is a list of a couple, I think one was to a golf player. There is, like, a list of some of the jokes he cut out of the first one because they were, like, too obscure. But in this one, they just had carte blanche to go wild. And they said that they were trying to write so that only certain people would get each joke.
I feel like they scaled back a little bit on the inventive swearing. There's still some of it. Like, there was less of that, which is, like, more like the in-your-face Deadpool thing. He only teabagged somebody once in this movie instead of several times in the first scene. I felt like the jokes were a little bit more wordy and, like, Arrested Development style jokes, you know? And not all of them worked, and not all of them were as smart or, like, as long run. Like, you know, that show has, like, long running time to build up the momentum. I felt like it was that in that world of what they were at least trying for.
I feel like I was certainly laughing more in this movie than I was in the first, so maybe they worked more for me. But in that last fight, there's a lot of really, really bad jokes, almost in the style of the first movie, just kind of too far. A lot of, like, butt jokes, a lot of, like, dirty jokes that don't work. And I think it really, I don't know, that was, like, I really noticed those jokes in the final scene, that big fight scene. I felt like it was taking away a lot from that scene. I mean, that's his whole shtick, right, that he talks too much, but it was too much in that final scene. But I definitely did laugh more in this movie, so.
I also laughed more. I think there are a lot more jokes, but I do think that they're just a lot more hollow in this one. Like, I do enjoy the situational comedy of the first one, where it's kind of generated from the people around him and the situations he's in, and I don't really care for, especially just, like, all the hollow references to other superhero movies, which are, like, constant in this. This is kind of my thing about both of them, is that I feel like they're just pretty hollow when you take out the jokes. Like, they're not an actual satire of a superhero movie. I don't know if they're trying to do that. You would need a much bigger budget and much stronger, bolder intentions to actually do one of those, you know? And so I feel like when you take out the jokes, it's just tropes that you've seen in so many other movies, and they're not done better here.
I mean, I think it cribs heavily from other movies all the time.
Yeah. I mean, they lampshade so much in this movie, and it was annoying, but they did get me with a "that's just lazy writing" joke.
I thought the Scoutmaster Kevin
Oh,
joke.
boy.
Wow,
Oh, boy.
like wildly inappropriate was also like that was pretty awesome.
I hated, and I hated it the first time, I hated it the second time, the scene where he has the baby legs. I know it's like a famous scene, and like people love that scene, but I don't think it's funny.
I agree.
That's all. I don't like seeing the little baby butt. I don't think it's funny.
It's also, this is the perfect example of this film's sense of humor, which is that he does the Basic Instinct thing where he crosses his legs and uncrosses it, and it's clear that's what he's doing. And then TJ Miller says Basic Instinct, and like that's the joke. They're not commenting about it, they just make an illusion and then they say that's an illusion. You know, and I feel like it's that over and over again. Or like he's like, if you had an arrow you'd be Hawkeye. Like, it's not a joke. Hawkeye is just another person who has an arrow. That's what this whole movie is.
That was a very good joke in the style of Deadpool. I don't know if
That's a joke he makes
okay,
in this
I was
movie.
gonna say that was good. I forgot that he made that, but that's good.
I also don't like how much they reuse jokes from the first movie. This movie treats the first movie with maybe an unearned reverence.
I mean,
Oh wait, but I did love the audition montage.
that
Maybe it
was
just
good.
hits home, but those ones are always so good. That's really funny to me.
Yeah.
The montages, or just like, you know, that's such a fun like improv scene too. You're at an audition and you're doing a bad job, but people still like, you know, like it just
Yeah.
is such a funny scene and it's great.
Yeah.
I love that whole team of people. I really like that part of the movie.
Yeah, the X-Force.
Yeah, I love them. Like the G-Force.
The G-Force.
The G-Force are more like
Emmett, can we please do all the G-Force movies?
Is there more than one?
how many
I don't
G-Force
think so.
movies are there? Yeah, please, let's do it. There's less CGI in that, I'm sure, than in this.
Okay, back to the lab. Fox paid the writers themselves to be on set every day after Ryan Reynolds did it out of his own pocket in the
Okay.
first movie. They also kept rewriting it all the way up until its release, which I remember was a point of controversy when this movie came out. Criticism that Deadpool is a lot funnier when he has the mask on, because all of that stuff was like rewritten in post, since you don't see his mouth moving, and that people thought he was like a very different character when he was not wearing the mask.
Maybe he feels most free with the mask on.
Honestly, like, who could watch this movie enough times to notice the difference?
Yeah, I truly
Like,
didn't.
who could possibly do that to themselves? I'm sorry for you.
Have either of you heard the term fridging?
Yeah.
This is a big comics thing, but
No.
it's a term that was created by feminist comic book fans in the 90s. It refers to when a writer kills a female character in order to make a male character feel something. It's all over comics. It's all over superhero movies, even in the best of them, The Dark Knight. The term itself was actually coined by the incredible writer Gail Simone, whose Wonder Woman runs are unbelievable. This film got a ton of criticism for fridging Vanessa right out of the gate, doing the same thing to Cable's family, where they just have, you know, a wife and daughter whose purpose was to get killed so he can have an emotion. When asked about it, one of the writers, Rhett Reese, said, "Maybe that's a sexist thing. I don't know. Maybe some women will have an issue with that. I don't know. It didn't even really occur to us." End quote.
That's the problem. Exactly. It didn't occur to you. I was sad. I was sad that she died.
Yeah.
I really liked her in the first movie. I wish she was in this one more. Also, like, there was like not a lot of women until Zazie comes back. What's her character's name?
Domino.
Domino. And
The
I was
great
like,
Zazie
when she
Beetz.
came in, I was like, finally. It's like this movie was lacking some like hotness, some like fierce power, you know? It just needed it. And I was grateful for her presence because I miss Vanessa. It'd be really cool if they were in a movie together,
Yeah.
but they weren't.
I guess while we're on the topic, I should mention that this film does not pass the Bechdel test. Despite having such an easy open goal because it has two female characters in a relationship in Negasonic Teenage Warhead and
They say no words to each
Yukio.
other, actually.
They do
really.
talk to each other 4 times, every single time just about Deadpool.
Yeah.
They never talk about anything that's not a man. And none of the other female characters talk to each other in this movie.
Unbelievable. I'm pissed about Miranda Baccarin.
Yeah,
this.
we should be.
Because, okay, so up until you said this, I'd been like, no, this was a pretty good movie, like, whatever. But she's a great actress. She's a good character in the first movie who doesn't have enough to do, who could have been given a lot more to do in this movie. And
she sat on a couch.
She sat on a couch.
The whole time.
What a load of BS.
Yeah. Like, now I'm thinking about that possible movie where Vanessa becomes a superhero.
Yeah.
And then maybe they'd still have Domino in there and they did a whole team with her. That would be cool. I would like that more.
Yeah, that is, I think, my biggest criticism of this movie in terms of, like, the storytelling. And always has been, because I think she's so cool in the first half of the first movie, and they really make her to be like female Deadpool. Like, the thing is that they are like two sides of the same coin, and that's why they work so well together. And then in the end of the first movie, she just turns into like a damsel in distress, and then in this movie they immediately kill her. And even before that, she's just like hot woman to be kissed. Disappointing.
I was very sad when she died. Just very disappointed. Also, it's making me angry now. So we should move on.
That being said, if you are making Deadpool 3 and you've pissed off Miranda Baccarin so much and you do need a hot woman to be kissed, I volunteer as tribute.
Thank you, Emmett. The Academy will consider that.
Very bold of you, Emmett. Very brave.
That's what it needed.
As we mentioned, this movie came out 3 weeks after Avengers Infinity War. The marketing for this movie really played up the Josh Brolin connection. When asked if he preferred playing Thanos or Cable more, this is a quote from Josh Brolin. "The more I watched Avengers, the more I realized Thanos is a real guy. This is not a big purple guy. This is a guy with insides and cells and feelings. Then it became fun. To me, it was like going to do 1970s black box theater in New York. You totally resort to your imagination. Deadpool was hard. Even though it was funny, it was harder. That was more of a business transaction. It was more, we need to make this like this, which I didn't feel that way with Avengers. With those directors, they would constantly go back to reference Scarface or Dog Day Afternoon. They knew what to throw out there to bring it back into something that inspired me."
Wow. Big purple man with big purple insides.
He's just got a big purpley old heart.
It's very sweet.
Yeah. As opposed to the business transaction of this movie.
So, as opposed to the black box theater that is
Can you
Avengers
imagine,
Infinity War.
If Josh Brolin looked like Thanos, like that's what he looked like, and he was doing black box theater in New York, like he was just a theater artist, but he happened to be a really large purple man. But people respected him as an artist because, you know, he could step outside of that big purple man.
He probably wouldn't have killed all those people.
That's probably true. He probably could have just done like an All My Sons in a black box theater.
I genuinely think that him in that Avenger movie is not that far off from what him doing black box theater would be like. I could talk about Infinity War all day, but like the only person that movie makes time to see like act is him as Thanos.
Sure.
Like he gets all of like the crazy monologue and acting moments. He also in both of these movies is a supervillain motivated by climate change, which has been a real theme these past few years.
Oh, true.
You don't see the heroes too often going out to bat for climate change. Always the supervillains who have taken the wrong path to try and fix it.
But, you know, these movies are still produced by our old friends over at Fox, so there might be reasons for that.
Brianna Hildebrand, who is bisexual in real life, is in the first queer relationship ever depicted in a movie based on a Marvel comic in this movie.
Which seems wild that it took that long.
Absolutely. And I feel like the only reason it happened is because they knew this movie wasn't going to come out in China. Because China barred the first one. And this is the big thing, if you guys don't know this, is that China is the biggest movie watching audience in the world. It became that the last decade. So a lot of movies cater to China in their content, and China will not include any queer content in their films. They'll remove it. That's why anytime we get queer content in these movies, it's like very short and easy to be taken out, like the kiss at the end of Rise of Skywalker or LeFou's one line in Beauty and the Beast. It's so these movies can still come out in China and make a ton of money. And I feel like this one was allowed to have it because they just refused to show the first one in China. So they were like, we can do whatever.
But even still, it's like still pretty brief. If they'd wanted to, they could have.
It's
there's
not
nothing
obvious.
in it at all.
It's not obvious besides the fact she says that, this is my girlfriend. But I feel like a 40-year-old clueless Karen would be like, they're just close friends.
Well, to
because
that point,
there's no proof.
Brianna only agreed to do it because if it was not going to be a big deal. She said, like, you can't market this. That can't be the point of my character. Like, I would love to do
they
it.
weren't going to do that. They weren't going to make it the point of her character, but I'm glad that she still said that.
That's the other thing about the Vanessa thing is, tell me if this is unfair, because I recognize it might be. But it does feel like maybe Ryan Reynolds just didn't want to share the spotlight.
I feel like that's fair.
Like, maybe he didn't want to be in a two-hander, and he was like, no, I want it to all be about me. And then they killed her. I mean, he wrote this movie.
Damn. That's brutal.
I don't know.
That's icy, dude.
Okay, Rob Delaney, who plays Peter. Do we all like Peter?
Love Peter. Stan Peter. He's a queen.
He's very good. He's most known from the British show Catastrophe. He is a real ass dude. He's a hardcore democratic socialist.
Oh, hell yeah.
He's
Hell yeah.
always popping up on Chapo, Trap House, and Vice, writing articles slamming Brexit.
Hell
He's
yeah.
like, and very funny and just a lovely guy. His 2-year-old son died of a brain tumor while they were making this movie.
No,
which was
that's
like a
so
very
horrible.
Public, sad, traumatic event that he went through.
Yeah.
Our condolences
Yeah.
to that.
Poor guy.
But he has some really great writing that's documenting how he like dealt with that, and he was a very good in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a bigger part in Hobbs and Shaw with David Leitch. So T.J. Miller, who plays Weasel, is his name, the bar hand. We mentioned this last week. So in late 2017, he had allegations that were made through his college in 2001 resurface, which were that he had become violent during sex with his college girlfriend.
Yeah.
These were things that had been like taken to the college and processed and then were resurfaced after he was kind of already famous. He also at the same time assaulted an Uber driver over a disagreement about Donald Trump, and had a report from all his co-stars on Silicon Valley that he had been bullying them throughout the process. He was also caught sending transphobic emails to a film critic. Tangentially, when the first movie came out, I was living in Chicago and had a bunch of friends in the improv scene there, which he had come out of. And so a lot of my friends knew him and had worked with him personally and talked a lot about him. And everyone said that he was just like a complete jerk.
Oh.
That he is, I mean, he's very funny. I think he's great in the first one. And I think he's funny in the brief amount he's in this. But like, from all accounts, just a horrible dude.
Dang.
After all of that stuff came out at once, there was a big public outcry for him to be either replaced and reshot or cut out of the film altogether, which they didn't do. But I do think his stuff is significantly edited down.
I was going to say he's not in it very much. I feel like they might have cut him out a good bit. I would hope they did something. Why did I just sound like a robot?
Yeah, they said it was like too late to do any of the other measures, but I think that they did cut him down a lot. In April 2018, right before this movie came out, he was arrested for calling in a false bomb threat on an Amtrak train in New York. So this is like one of the most high-profile cases ever of like just a completely self-destructive man.
Just like, why?
Damn.
Just why? For what? What are you doing on
Like,
a Friday?
as a
You're just
joke.
like, oh my gosh.
Calling in a false bomb
That's
threat.
absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
He's going to make a comeback and put it in a stand-up routine at some point. So.
Oh my god.
His hearing for the bomb threat has still not happened, but he was replaced from the film How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Good.
and he has not filmed anything since.
That's good.
Bye-bye.
Joy S.J. Harris died filming a motorcycle stunt for this movie on August 14th, 2017.
Damn.
Motorcycle stunt?
She was playing domino on a motorcycle.
Oh my gosh.
In the middle act of this movie.
Oh, I was trying to think, was that in the movie? Was Domino riding a motorcycle?
For like one shot. It's like very brief.
That's horrible.
She was a talented vehicle enthusiast who had never worked as a stunt person before. It was her first time ever working on a stunt person. The person who was supposed to do the stunt was the veteran stuntwoman Melissa Stubbs, who was there on set to do it. But they chose Harris because she was black and Melissa was white. So Harris was the same race as the character of Domino, who was 4. She was also not wearing a helmet because Domino wasn't wearing one during the scene, and the crew, quote, didn't have time to get one fitted for her under her wig. It was widely criticized by the stunt community after it happened. Everyone who looked at it said that she was not qualified to do the stunt that she had been asked to do. Filming was shut down for 2 days following this.
That's it?
And then resumed.
That's crazy.
It also came out that they were supposed to only be filming 12 hours and had been filming 16 hours a day, which led to everyone just not bringing their A game. This same year it came out, a stunt performer was killed making The Walking Dead on television, the combination of which led to widespread calls for stunt reform, which have been largely unanswered.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Just seems like just so avoidable, which is what's really sad.
Yeah, at every point there, like there are like 8 things that could have happened to avoid that happening, and all of them went wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, so rest in power. I don't know how much we really have to say about this. The first time one of these movies has actually literally killed someone. Certainly those first 2 Bryan Singer movies destroyed a lot of young men's lives, but the first time someone has actually been murdered to make one of these movies, the film is dedicated to her.
I mean, I would just say, if you're ever in a position to be doing any sort of stunt or any sort of combat thing, if you're not qualified to do it, like, please don't let anybody pressure you into doing it. Mm-hmm. And if you're ever in a position to pressure anybody into doing a combat thing, don't do that. Like,
okay, gonna run through these last ones because getting on up there. A post-credit scene of Deadpool killing baby Hitler was cut following poor reception in the test screenings, which was replaced by the Green Lantern bit. There was a director's cut that was 15 minutes longer, which only screened once at Comic-Con. It has never been seen again. This film was re-released in December of that same year, entitled Once Upon a Deadpool, which was a PG-13 recut that was an attempt to see if Deadpool would work within the MCU because of the Disney-Fox merger. They filmed a new framing device, which was Deadpool telling the story of this movie to captive Fred Savage, who is the kid in The Princess Bride. Ryan Reynolds only agreed to do it because he had pushed so hard for the R rating if the proceeds would go to charity. It was a critical and commercial failure, grossing $51 million of this film's $785 million gross.
damn.
I don't know if anyone has ever seen it or seen anything from the PG-13 version.
No.
I haven't either.
Did they
even
reshoot
know
stuff
that
for
was
it, or did
there.
they just cut, like,
They
just cut out
shot
swears?
that framing device bit, but everything else was just cut and altered in some way to make it
weird.
PG-13.
How much shorter is it? Do you know?
I don't know.
It's
Right
only
here.
10 minutes long.
Right?
It's just the 10 new minutes they shot.
I'm just thinking about all of the blank spots in dialogue.
Yeah.
Or, like, how do you handle that when important dialogue is delivered with a bunch of swear words peppered in with it?
So they shot more X-Force stuff for the trailers, which was, I guess, just all for the bit that they were really marketed this thing, that the X-Force was going to be really cool, and then they all died. Oh,
Okay.
Something I forgot to mention earlier is that Brad Pitt really wanted to play Cable, but couldn't because he was shooting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, well.
So that's why he agreed to do the cameo in this for free. I think he took the better career move.
Yeah,
He's
for
good
sure.
He's good in Once Upon a Time. Any thoughts on what Brad Pitt would have brought to Cable?
He would have been better.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't dislike Josh Brolin. Like, I'm not here to criticize him. I think he's a really good actor, but I think he's better for a character like Thanos, who is so serious.
Mm-hmm.
And Cable, I mean, he's so tragic. He needs to have some sort of sense of humor about it. Like, otherwise, it's just like, what is this? This guy's so boring on screen.
So the official plans for this franchise was that they were going to shoot X-Force, which was going to be the movie after this. It was going to be Deadpool leading a team, and then they were going to shoot Deadpool 3.
Holy hell.
Drew Goddard, who is the man who wrote Cabin in the Woods and The Martian, was set to write and direct the X-Force movie. He was going to start working on it after he finished Bad Times at the El Royale, which I saw very boring, in my opinion. But all of that was just shelved after the Disney acquisition.
That's okay.
Deadpool is kind of the only character, because of his fourth wall breaking, that could exist in the new Marvel Cinematic Universe, where they'll be reintroducing the X-Men and all of these things. In November 2020, it was announced that Marvel Studios and Reynolds had chosen the Molyneux sisters, Wendy and Lizzie, of Bob's Burgers fame, to write the third Deadpool that would be introducing it into the MCU.
What?
Which is a pretty interesting choice for me. Obviously, picking two women for something that's such like a male power fantasy and so macho, these movies. And also, I like Bob's Burgers a lot, and I feel like its comedy doesn't punch down, which is what I think Deadpool does a lot. So it's interesting to think about that.
Maybe they're switching it up.
They also have the wordiest humor in that show, and it, like, they pull it off really well. It's like still funny, but like very long, well constructed jokes, which I feel like if Ryan Reynolds can pull it off, it could be really fun.
I feel like there's no time for that in the Deadpool movies.
That's
I feel
fair.
like he'd be like trying to kill someone, and then the joke would be too long, and it just wouldn't work. I would also like to see Emmett playing a woman in Deadpool 2, because that's what he said he would do. So let's bring him on.
Wow. That's how they're going to pass the Academy's new diversity standards. is
They'll get a man.
putting Emmett in a dress and saying it's diversity.
Yeah.
I live by the Scarlett Johansson School of Acting. I can play anyone.
Well, the Academy is a fan of that, so.
Anything. I could play a tree, a table even.
So your pitch for Deadpool 3's Scarlett Johansson joining the team.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so Deadpool and Black Widow.
My dream movie of Deadpool. Russell's grown up now. He meets this girl. Her name is Laura. Then it's not a movie about Deadpool. It's a movie about Russell and Laura.
Wow.
And Deadpool's like their fun uncle that like pops in every now and then, because like that's all we really need to see from him.
Was it still called Deadpool 3?
Yes, it is.
All right, that's the tea, sis. That's all I got on this movie.
Nice.
Fantastic.
I loved it. I'm no longer thirsty.
Emmett, should we step into the continuity corner?
Yeah, sure, let's do it. Okay, so this movie takes place in 2018,
Yes.
right?
And I think I have deduced that because the first movie takes place over 2 years, which is the only one of these movies that does. Because there's an entire year in their relationship that passes, and then there's another entire year where he's killing people and stalking her. And the writers have said that this movie takes place almost immediately after the first one. So I think that we could maybe assume that the start of the first movie is 2016, when him and Vanessa meet. It ends in 2018 with them back together, and that is where all of this movie takes place.
Okay.
Is that a fair?
Yeah, sure.
That's my
Makes
assumption
sense.
on
But
what's going
this
on.
movie takes place in like what, a day, a couple of days.
Yeah, not long.
Not long, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, he goes to prison, but neither of them serve a full sentence. They break out, so I don't know, maybe a week or so. Other than so this is the closest to 2023 that we've been. 2023 being the magic date when
Right.
the
Things are
timeline is
good.
reset and things are good. The only person that we see is Colossus that we've already talked about. Yukio. What about Yukio? Is all the Wolverine stuff erased?
Yeah, he remembers it, but it is erased. I think we only see appearances by mutants who are not in this timeline, including Juggernaut and Yukio, who I mean, she's nice here, but she's not the main character she was in the Wolverine, where she's so good.
What about that one scene where they're all in that room?
Yeah, that's what we gotta talk about.
That feels like a spoof thing. That feels like a moment from Spaceballs. Like, that doesn't even feel like what this movie is doing. I don't know.
Well, then why? Why?
Yeah, because the thing is,
so
if this
strange.
movie is in 2018, then that's 5 years before their Patrick Stewart and Kelsey Grammer.
Mm-hmm.
It's that they look like the Decades cast, and then in 5 years they grow up to be that cast.
It also looked like the 90s because they had the Nirvana poster in the background.
It was that part was filmed by Simon Kinberg on the set of Dark Phoenix, which was filming simultaneously with this movie.
Whoa.
So that just doesn't make any sense at all. That, like, timeline-wise doesn't line up.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know what I think we could talk about it all day and not have an answer
That's
for it.
why they slowly close the door.
Yeah. Cable allows anything to have happened in timeline and be okay. Basically. Like, Cable's one of those game-breaking things where it's just like, so you've got Cable now, so Cable can time travel and, like, with this really weird mechanic where he can be basically anywhere at once and have multiple versions of himself. Any problem you had in the timeline is like resolved before it starts.
Did you get a body count for this?
Well, I did not count them myself.
I stopped counting it within
I
a
stopped
minute of the
counting
movie
early
start.
on because I was like, if I count bodies, I'm not going to enjoy this movie, which I might say is probably part of why I didn't enjoy Logan so much, is because I had my nose in the book a lot of the time. But I decided not to do that for this one, and I instead looked up the body count. One says 65, and it lists every single death in the movie. Another says 125. Another source says 125.
Why do I believe 125 is true?
I mean,
more
it
realistic.
seems like it's a lot of people, and it's certainly, like, pretty graphic, and probably as graphic as Logan. It's just, like, not taken as seriously.
Yeah,
It's pretty upsetting.
I hate watching people get beat up. Like, it's really, really hard. This movie is just too much. Too much Laffy Taffy body.
Yeah.
Like, too much of that. I hate looking at that. And he's just splayed out everywhere, every time. Looking all rubbery and gross. And I hate it.
It's like Harry's arm.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible.
I think the stylization works a little bit better in this than the first one, at least in terms that it looks a little cooler and a little less off-putting. The first one is maybe also going at something a little more than this one.
My close my eyes count was 9 for the first movie, and it was 6 for this one. So
Wow.
maybe just a little less brutal, but still brutal nonetheless.
Yeah.
Why cigarette?
Oh, I'm sorry, please.
But, no, please go.
Okay, so the one joke that I think really did not age well in this is the joke that Deadpool makes where he's like, maybe we'll have a boy, maybe we'll have a girl. It'll definitely be one or the other. Which
Yeah,
did not, and I was, and when I saw that, I was like, oh, they probably didn't think that was bad in 2018. But then later in the movie, he talks about something being gender neutral. So I was like, they knew back then, and they still made the joke.
Why cigarette?
Nice.
Dewy slopes? Do you remember when he says the words dewy slopes?
Is he talking about
No.
Cool Runnings?
I don't know. It could be code word. I think we need to get on the deep truth of this. When he goes through the car window, it's very exciting. And then later in the movie, he does it again. It's also exciting when he does it the second time.
When he comes through the back of the taxi.
Yeah.
How much, like, he has to pay for the repairs to that taxi because he
I'm
has
sure.
made some ridiculous damage.
Well, it also seems like Dopinder is just his taxi, like
Yes,
just
which
his
I love.
personal
It's very
valet.
sweet.
Yeah, I love Karen Sony.
Yeah, I love him. He's great.
Who do we like in this movie? Not picking our favorites, just like who do we think does well in this movie? Karen Sony, obviously playing Dopinder, good in the first one, has a little bit more to do in this one.
Yeah,
Very
I love
funny.
it.
Very good.
Yeah, he's
Very
always
wholesome.
he's just so consistent, so funny. Really loves Ozzy.
So good.
She's killer.
Everyone watch Atlanta if you hadn't. So incredible. She is so good on that.
Yeah, she's just great. I think she should be in more superhero movies. I think she's a good superhero. I also love her superpower. I wrote down in my notes that having bad luck is probably my superpower. So we are similar in that way.
That sequence is so cool, and maybe like the only original idea this film has. That like 2-minute sequence where
cool.
she just is like so lucky that nothing can harm her. And I feel like they also they really do a bunch of different things with that, which most of the ideas in this are like a little one note.
I was thinking about watching that sequence, how good luck for her means terrible luck for a lot of
For
other
most people.
Yeah, like most of the people on that street are dead.
Yep. Which is why I think the 125 is more true. Because
Yeah, that's
like
probably...
so many just car wrecks, so many demolished. She drives a truck through a whole building.
I forgot about
so
that.
awesome. That really does feel like a Fast and the Furious moment, like you said.
I really enjoyed the music in this movie. I think that is something Deadpool does well. I love all the song choices for the most part, except for like the original ones that are written for the movie. Those are horrible. But like 9 to 5.
Yeah.
There were a lot more of it. I can't remember, but they were also good. Like they're all the timing, when they're about to come in. Like it's just a classic moment in the Deadpool series when like something happens, something big happens. And there's a quiet moment and you just hear the start of a truly like classic song. And you're like, this is perfect. The AC/DC song while they're jumping out the plane. Like I love the use of music. I really do. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy does it a lot too, which I also enjoy about those films. Like just like songs that you love, songs that you jam to, that bring you joy in the time of watching Deadpool.
Yeah, the 9 to 5 drop is awesome. Both times I've seen it, the Take On Me acoustic version kind of does it for me.
It's so good.
Like kind of gets me in the feels a little bit. I will say I cannot stand the dubstep. Like that's the joke I cannot hang
though.
with.
It's so dumb because dubstep. Okay, I might. No, you know what?
Can you
Say
lean into
it.
the microphone?
All right. Let me just lay it on y'all. Okay, dubstep was dead by 2018.
It was.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why they're making all these jokes about it. Talk about punching down. Deadpool is deceased and in the grave, and they're like coming across and peeing on it and throwing bottles at night.
That's one of the ones where we're like, we're saying Deadpool is making jokes that they think people in 2018 like. They're like, what do poor people joke about these days? What do poor people enjoy these days? Oh, dubstep. Yes, dubstep. Let's put that in the movie. Let's make a joke. Everybody loves dubstep. Poor people love dubstep.
What
So
did
they
love?
put it in the
Frozen. Let's talk about Frozen.
That was a good joke.
Movie.
It is a very similar tune.
Yeah.
Papa, can you hear me?
That's maybe the best joke in the movie.
Snowman.
It's pretty
very
good.
Similar.
It is very similar.
Anyone else we think is good in this movie?
Oh, the kid.
Oh yeah, Julian Dennison.
Killer.
Yeah, very good.
Love him.
And the evil gross principal guy, he doesn't have a lot to do, but that guy's always creepy and awesome. You know, he's just a weird little creepy guy.
Weird little rat man.
I have a little surprise for both of you. Backed by popular
Oh
demand,
no!
it's the return of Wade's quiz.
Uh-oh.
Today we are going to play a little game I like to call Deadpool or Shakespeare.
Okay.
God.
I'm going to read 10 quotes, some of which will be from the graphic novel Much Ado About Deadpool, written by the great Ian Desher, who also writes the the William Shakespeare Star Wars novels.
I was going to say, wasn't it written by William Shakespeare? No?
No, it was written by another.
Weird.
I would also highly recommend this graphic novel. I really enjoyed reading it. It's really the Avengers Endgame of Shakespeare. The quotes will either be from Much Ado About Deadpool, or they will be from William Shakespeare's timeless classic, Timon of Athens.
Hey, where's the Pumbaa of Athens?
Okay, and you guys can answer the same.
Where is the Pumbaa of Athens? You're not going to answer?
I don't know.
We'll figure it out, Emmett.
Okay.
When Deadpool 3 comes out, we'll play that.
Pumbaa, you sat on the remote. Sorry, I thought it was a brownie. That's from Lion King 1.5. It's in the beginning.
Oh, we gotta do that. And the winner gets an ice cream cone.
Really?
Yeah,
From where?
the winner's choice. All right, you ready? We're starting with an easy one, so I hope you guys get this one. No nobleman am I, but like thou dost confuse me with some sprite like Spider-Man.
That's a hard one. Eh.
Yes, Laura?
I was waiting for you to call me.
Yes, Laura?
It's the Deadpool Shakespeare.
Emmett?
Much Ado About Deadpool.
Oh, okay. I forgot the name.
You don't have to. Well, it's Deadpool or Shakespeare. So
Okay.
you just pick if it's Deadpool or Shakespeare. You are both correct.
Woohoo!
That is indeed Deadpool. His days and times are past. I love and honor him, but must not break my back to heal his finger.
Eh.
Yes, Laura?
Timon and Pumbaa.
I think it's Deadpool.
I have no idea now.
It's Shakespeare.
Yeah.
That's 1 point for Laura. Thou finally dost speak my language, sir, for vengeance is a word I know and love. Emmett?
Shakespeare.
Laura?
Deadpool.
It's Deadpool.
Oh, baby. Here
got-
comes that ice cream cone.
3 on the board for Laura right now. But we're still early on. It's anyone's game. We got
Early
7
on?
more.
Okay, 7 more.
10 questions.
Whew.
I had the like conception in my eyes, and at that instant, like a babe, sprung up.
I'm so scared to be wrong. I have no idea. Can you read it one more time?
I had the like conception in my eyes, and at that instant, like a babe, sprung up.
I don't know.
Well, someone's Laura?
I don't know. I'm just going to say Deadpool.
Emmett?
Deadpool.
It's only Shakespeare.
Oh, no.
No points. No points for that one.
That's okay.
That old dirty dog, Shakespeare.
He is.
I have retired me to a wasteful cock and set mine eyes at flow. Yes,
Shakespeare.
Emmett?
Deadpool.
It's Shakespeare. Halfway through the game, still anyone's game. 5 more to go. A fine idea, indeed. I'll use the sword. With blood, not ink, the message is all right.
Deadpool.
Laura?
Deadpool.
It's Deadpool. A point for both. Till I be gentle, stay thou for thy good morrow, when thou art mine dog, and these knives honest. Yes?
Shakespeare.
Emmett?
Shakespeare.
It's Shakespeare.
Yee doggy.
Another win for both. Although this place unknown doth have its charm, I'll find my way back to my home anon.
Deadpool.
Deadpool.
That's right. I wonder men dare trust themselves with men. I think they should invite them without knives.
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
It's Shakespeare. Real comeback here. Last one. Why speaks my lord of quarrels that resolve? Hast thou lost thy resolve? Shall not we reign?
What are the points?
Well, the current score is 8, Laura, 5, Emmett.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
It's Deadpool.
Dang.
No points for anyone. The winner is Laura with 8 points to
Woohoo.
Emmett's 5. Congratulations.
Ice cream cone for mama.
Congratulations, Laura.
I'm so excited.
Thank you both for playing Wade's quiz.
Thank you, Wade, for your quiz.
Thank you for the quiz. Yeah.
Who do we think the protagonist of this movie is? And what do they want? Laura, thoughts?
I don't know. Are my thoughts? I have no idea. Perhaps.
Any clues as to who the protagonist could be?
I just don't think Deadpool is capable of being a protagonist. So, I think it might be Russ.
I think it's Cable.
Oh, interesting. Could be.
I don't actually think it's Cable. I think it's Deadpool. But I want it to be Cable so it doesn't have to be Deadpool.
I mean, Deadpool wants to feel happy again. Right? He wants to fill that hole. He wants to die,
I feel like...
doesn't he?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of
That's
like...
his goal.
You were saying how much it's like Logan.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like the Logan thing. At the beginning, he wants to
He
die.
just wants to die.
And then he wants to help the kid.
Finds a reason for living.
And then he wants to die again at the end.
I don't know if Logan wants to die again at the end. I think he just like accepts it.
But Deadpool and the kid don't really have the personal connection that Wolverine and Laura have.
That's true.
Like, they don't bond like that. I think it is Deadpool I think he wants to be with Vanessa again. I honestly think that these two movies are like the most straightforward in terms of protagonist desire
For sure.
of almost any of this series. Which no. I mean, I think it could be Russ. He does make a choice at the end.
Yeah.
Like he does him and Cable make bigger changes at the end than it feels like Deadpool does.
Yeah, because Cable goes back and like changes things and like saves Deadpool's ass. And,
Yeah. But Deadpool, does he make the decision to leave the spirit world with Vanessa, or does he get yanked out?
He gets
the last
yanked
time?
out.
Yeah, so it's not as much of an active choice.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
He I think he comes to a little bit of peace about it, but he isn't like,
Yeah.
yeah. But I feel
mean,
like
he sacrifices himself, but that's not as much of a change because he already wanted to die.
but that is fair. He just sacrificed himself for the kid, which is
Yeah.
like,
Out of character.
there's a clear arc in that sense of at the beginning where he's like not going to respect anyone and he's just gonna like make jokes about the kid situation to the end where he's like willing to die for him. That's an arc. I don't know. Laura, who is your MVP OTD? Your most valuable player in this movie other than Deadpool?
I know I've talked about him a lot, but I'm such a big fan. So my MVP is Julian as Russ / Fire Fist. I just think he's incredible. I just think like his banter, his chemistry, he's just one of those actors I think that he just can have chemistry and can have back and forth with pretty much anyone. Like he's so good at his little improv and his speech, pattern that he does. Like I don't know, he's just so great. And he does act similar to how he acts in the other movie I've seen him in, but it's just stellar. It just works every time. I think he's great. I think he's one of the best parts about this movie, easily.
I read that Ryan Reynolds watched Hunt for the Wilder People and then wrote that part for him.
Well, that's why I said earlier, I was like, maybe that's why they wanted him for it. But if he wrote it for it, then that makes sense.
He said he never even considered anyone else.
Yeah.
He was just like, oh, I want to make that movie with that kid.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Emma, who's your MVP OTD?
I'm gonna have to go Zazie Beetz. Is that her name?
Uh-huh. That's her birth name.
Incredible.
Wow,
She's
that's
German.
Really cool. That's awesome. She's really good in this. I think, like you said, her sequence is really cool where you get to see her power. She's a fun character and the only member of the X team or the X Force, Space Force X team to survive. I don't remember even now what it's called. She's awesome. I wish she was in more of it and like more significant as a character rather than just as like an action figure. But yeah, she's a cool action figure.
I agree. She would have been mine. I guess then I will go with Karen Sony as Dopinder. I think he's a lot of fun in this movie. He's so wholesome. His final moment is pretty good too.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope that I would love to see him in other stuff. Like, I think he's so funny in this. He pops up in Ghostbusters 2016. Like, I feel like he did a couple, like, one scenes in a bunch of comedy films kind of around this time, but hasn't been in much since. I want to see him in more.
Yeah.
He should have his own movie by now.
Yeah, he really should. His own TV show.
Laura, any final thoughts on this movie?
My final thoughts. Here's a note that I didn't get to share. This is a direct quote from my notes. I don't like his wiggly fire fingers. I love Fire Fist. I love Russ. I love his character. When he turned his fists into fire, his fingers were left out, and they were these little wiggly, wobbly things, and they made me quite uncomfortable. Just like he's Fire Fist, I wish his hands would stay in a fist, because when you saw his fingers, they were scary and wiggly. Those are my final thoughts.
Emmett, final thoughts?
I wish we got more fighting from Negasonic Teenage Mutant Warhead.
I agree.
Lady. Incredible.
She's awesome.
And
She's
Yukio
almost
could have
nothing.
And Yukio could have fought more too at the same time.
She also is such a style icon in the first movie, and is only really wearing the X-Men suit in this movie. And I was like, oof.
No, she's got that one cool jacket that she wears in this.
Yeah. Wade?
Oh, I wrote down my favorite joke of this is when Deadpool has the chart of the plan in the second act, and he says, if everything goes right, there's not going to be a third act. He points to that thing. Yeah, I think this movie is, like Emmett said, an interesting cultural document I also think it is completely worthless. Like, I just feel no value is possibly... Like, I don't understand how people could take value from this movie. Or certainly, like, why whatever things they enjoy wouldn't be better in the things that they're cribbed from. The first time I watched this movie, this was the movie that made me stop watching superhero movies. Like, not just the X-Men movies, but all superhero movies. I was like, I'll watch the MCU movies because they have proven to me that they're going to make a high-quality thing with characters I enjoy. And I will watch some DC movies at my discretion because I grew up loving those characters. But, like, this is the movie where I didn't go see Venom, Morbius, like all these other weird things that we've gotten, Dark Phoenix, the New Mutants. Mm-hmm. It was because after seeing this movie, I was like, I actually don't like this genre.
Yeah.
Fair.
Like,
Same.
I think the genre is so dumb. And when you see the movies that are just like the tenets of the superhero movie genre, as we talked about on the original X-Men movie, which these two Deadpool movies are, they're just like, you know, they're walking through the motions of what a superhero movie is, which I feel like a lot of movies that are adapted from comic books these days don't.
Right. They do other interesting stuff with them.
Yeah. And even, I'm not even saying that they're always more successful, but they normally aren't about like people who suffer a tragic death at the beginning and then have to rise to the occasion to get past it and then have to put a team together and then have to stop a thing in a big building with a big fight and a device and stuff, you know? Laura, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was great fun.
It was great to have you on.
Woohoo!
Is there anything you're working on? Any plugs you have? Anywhere the people can find you?
Sure. They can follow my Instagram, Laura Nicole Bennett. They can follow my makeup account, Laura Nicole Makeup. And they can listen to a most recent summer bop of an album by me and Wade Danger, featuring Emmett Temple. And that is linked in my Instagram bio at Wade Danger Music, bandcamp.com. So go listen to that because it's good. And thank you, everyone, for one more time, for my fans out there, light bulb.
Oh, incredible.
Oh my God.
We are going to be back next week with the penultimate film in this series, Dark Phoenix.
Are you stoked to watch something you haven't seen before?
I am excited, and that's right. Your ears did not deceive you. That movie is called Dark Phoenix. It's not called X-Men Dark Phoenix. That is not a movie that exists. It's called Dark Phoenix because they wanted it to be a standalone adventure for people to come in.
A standalone adventure that is also part of the Decades Quintupology.
Oh, okay. Love you guys. Bye.
Stay frosted.
Cinema Bums is a production of DKG Podcasts. It is created and produced by Emma Temple and me, Wade Lawrence Holloman. I also edit and mix the podcast. Our theme music is by Zane Holloman, who you can find on Bandcamp, and our show art is by Autumn Beckner. Our social media is managed by Laura Bennett. If you like what you hear, please tell all your friends, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, the 2 best ways to spread the word about our work. You can also follow us on Instagram at CinemaBums or email us at cinemabumspod@gmail.com. Don't flake on us. We'll be back next week.